We are continuing with inequalities today. Today we're actually going to practice solving inequalities. So yesterday was sort of just a brief introduction of inequalities. We wrote them, we graphed them, we talked about what it means to be a solution and not a solution. Today you're actually going to solve inequalities. The great thing about solving inequalities is it's very, very similar to solving equations. So if you did well in the last chapter, this should be a piece of cake. Any questions before we get going? All right, here is our first one. Okay, before we actually solve this one, would anyone like to read what it says above the directions above number 1 in your notes? Because it's in your notes, but it's not on the PowerPoint. Yes?
When solving an inequality, if you multiply or divide both sides by a negative number, you must flip the inequality sign.
Perfect. Did you all hear that? Did you all follow along in your notes? Put a little star by that. If your highlighter's still out from highlighting the notes, you can highlight it right now. If not, highlight it tomorrow, okay? Because that is a step. It's in blue when you're highlighting. If you're using my color coding system, if you have your own system, whatever you highlight steps in, that is an important step for solving inequalities, okay? If you multiply or divide by a negative number, you flip the direction of the inequality. Everything else that we're doing is the same as when you're solving an equation. That is the only difference, okay? So for now, every time you rewrite this, just keep it a greater than or equal to symbol unless you multiply or divide by a negative. So the first thing I need to do here is what?
Distribute.
Just flip it. You flip it when you multiply or divide by a negative. We are not doing any such thing right now. We're distributing a 4. So we have 4 times 3x, that's 12x, and 4 times 5 gives me a 20. Now, it's a regular old two-stepper. Subtract 20 from both sides.
Negative 8. Negative 18.
That's not right.
I thought it was negative 8.
-8.
I don't know. It's keeping me on my toes. I'm not sure what's happening. All right. I sure did. All right, then what? Divide both sides by 12. Okay, so the 12s are gone. We have x is greater than or equal to. Keep the negative. Now, do you see how there's a negative in the problem, but I did not switch this? Okay, you switch it if you're the one multiplying or dividing. If there's a negative anywhere in there, that's fine. But if I would then divide by negative 8 or divide by negative 1, that's when the flipping happens. Right now we're not flipping, we just have a negative answer. 8 over 12 becomes what? 2/3.
Negative 2.
There you go. X is greater than or equal to negative 2/3. Now, if you want to check these, I always like to think of a really easy number that would fit into this. Like a number that's greater than or equal to negative 2/3 would be like 0, right? If you plug 0 in here, you'd get 5 times 4, which is 20, is 20 greater than or equal to 12? Yeah, so that doesn't mean you're definitely right because there are a lot of inequalities and numbers that fit in there. But it's kind of a nice check. Like, is the symbol facing the right way? Am I kind of close? I don't know. It just makes me feel better if I check it. But again, not really foolproof in inequalities like it was in equations when you checked it, but still a good idea. Questions? All right, number 2. I have 2/3 x plus 5 is less than negative 11.
Wow.
Now what? Subtract 5 from both sides. Negative 16. Good. Now what? Multiply by the reciprocal. So 3 over 2. All right. When you multiply, I'm recording. If you guys could keep your insults to a minimum. Do you see how the negative 16 and the 2 can simplify to negative 8 and 1? And negative 8 times 3 is negative 24. There you go. Do I flip it? No, I didn't multiply or divide by a negative. There happened to be a negative in the problem. Doesn't affect my sign. Questions? Here's number 3. All right, how should I start this one?
Subtract 7.
Subtract the 7. Good. So I have negative 4x is less than negative 8. Now I'm going to flip it because I'm about to do what?
Divide by negative 8.
Yes, when you divide by a negative 4, that's when the siren should be going off. Okay? Woo, woo. All right. So the symbol is now greater than, and a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So it sort of changes everything, right? Be careful there.
My mom's laughing.
What are your questions? All right, let's go to number 4. I don't know why I'm tapping so much. I'm sorry. What should I do to start this one? Combine the x's. So how am I going to get the x's together? I'm going to add 1x to both sides where I see x's. So on the right side, they're gone. What's 5x plus 1x? 6x minus 9 is less than 3. Then I'm going to add 9 to both sides. 6x is less than 12. Divided by 6. Any sort of flipping happening? Nope. X is less than 2. Questions? All right. What type of problem is this? Bodyguard. We got to get through the negative 5. How do I get through to it?
Multiply.
Yeah, I got to multiply everything by
Negative 5.
negative 5. Woo, woo. Flip it. So on the left side, the only thing that goes away are the negative 5. So you still have the 4x minus 2. It was greater than or equal to. Now it's going to be less than or equal to. Let me get the white pen out again.
Where? Oh.
And it's now a negative 50. Everybody with me.
I like how she just writes it.
Hmm?
I like how you just
What? Yeah, I multiplied by a negative 5, so I flipped the direction of the sign. Anytime you multiply or divide by a negative, you flip it. Okay? Now, I am going to add 2 to both sides.
Negative 48.
So 4x is less than or equal to negative 48. Then what?
Divide by 4.
Divide both sides by 4. X is less than or equal to negative 12. Good. Now, let's say that it said to solve and graph. You use this symbol when you're deciding which way to shade, not the original, okay? If there was any sort of flipping, you got to go with the final answer to decide which way to shade. Does that make sense? Okay. What are your questions? Graph on the number line like we did yesterday on that homework that you didn't do.
Okay. So, what? Yeah.
All right, let's see if this one comes up good to go. What should I do first?
Combine.
Combine like terms. 12x minus 10x is what?
2x.
2x. We still have the minus 11. Still have the less than. What do I end up with on the right side?
19.
The 19. Yeah. Does that look right? Now I feel like we have to take a little extra precautions each time. Make sure. You can't just blindly trust the PowerPoint. I like it. I'm going to start putting more mistakes in
No.
there. All right, what should I do next?
Subtract 2x.
Subtract 2x. And we get negative 11 is less than 5x plus 19. Good. Then what? Subtract the 19. We're going farther into the negative, so we're going to add those, keep the negative sign. So we get negative 30 less than 5x. Divide both sides by 5.
You don't have this list.
Now, should I leave my answer like that?
No.
No. Which one is getting eaten by the alligator? The X. When you rewrite it, the X is still getting eaten by the alligator, okay? When you flip it, because you're multiplying or dividing by a negative, the alligator's flipping, you know, he's not eating the same guy. But when you're just rewriting it, he is. I am sorry for the childish alligator comparisons,
Why
but
are you making an alligator? Why can't it be like a crocodile?
whatever.
Why can't it be a crocodile?
I don't even know the difference.
Why can't it be a
One
crocodile?
lives in the ocean, one lives in a lake.
And alligator has
Whichever one's the pointy one.
Swamp?
News because it has to be.
Not an ocean. You mean a swamp?
Oh no! This ain't biology class. No, I really don't know the difference.
Just
Ocean is salt water.
Don't know. All right, you ready?
Okay, wait.
Here is number 7. Ooh, lots of distributing.
That means she like this. I don't like it when my teachers.
They torture us.
Like the more we like it, the worse it is. It just has some distributing, some negatives. It's going to be good. Okay, so 7 minus 2, but that 2 is being multiplied by m minus 4, less than 5 times the quantity 1 minus 2m. What should I do first? Distribute. So I'm going to distribute what on the left side? Negative 2. So that's going to be a minus 2m and a plus 8. Now, in the back, you're distributing a 5. 5 times 1 is 5. Keep the minus. And then the 2m times 5 is 10m. All right, 7 plus 8 on the left side would give us what? 15. All right, now I've got m's in more places than I want m's.
You should add the 10.
Add the 10 or the 2, either way.
Man,
Whatever floats your boat.
Whatever floats your boat. Do you want to do the 10?
we'll do the 10.
Let's do the 10. I'll back it up. All right. I take requests. I'm cool with it. Okay, so we have 15. Now it's plus 8m, less than 5.
Does it make a difference?
It won't make a difference. Minus 15, minus 15. 8m less than negative 10. Divide by 8, divide by 8. M is less than negative 5 over 4. Now, if you did it the other way that we were going to do it at first, you will end up dividing by a negative, so you'll flip it. And then I think you end up with the m in the back, so you got to flip it again. So double flipping if you're doing it the other way. This way it worked out nicely. Does anyone want to see it the other way?
Please no.
What are you confused about on this one? Shh. We only flip it when we multiply or divide by a negative.
Or if the number.
So the way we did it, we multiplied by a positive 8, so we didn't flip it. However, I'll just show it to you since it was up there for a second. If you did it this way, you moved the 2m. In this method, you do divide by a negative. So here's where you would flip it, but then you got to rewrite it so you flip it again. You like double flip it.
Remember when X or
Okay.
is multiply or divide.
Hold on. They flipped it. This still needs one more flip, right? On ours, the m was smaller. Yep. So then
Okay, then let's do
Oh man, I hit the wrong button. Hold
Go
on.
back.
Hold on. So yeah, this way they flip it here, and then when you rewrite it with the M in the front, you gotta flip it
How you go
again.
from 7 to
How you go
9?
from 7 to 9?
Oh, I don't know. Let me focus on one thing at a time. Okay? That's what we got though. Okay, they just had to flip it twice. Number 9, 16 is less than 10 minus 2/5 x.
Subtract.
What should I do? I am going to subtract 10 from both sides, so I get 6 is less than negative 2/5 x. Now what? I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal, and what is the sign? It is negative.
So it's greater than
So now I'm going to rewrite the symbol as greater than. Okay? So a lot happened here. The 2's are gone, the 5's are gone, the negatives on the right are gone. I have the x. The symbol was less than, now it's greater than. Over here I have 5 times 6. That's 30 divided by 2, that's 15. It was negative, keep that negative. A negative times a positive is negative. Is this my answer?
No, you gotta flip it again.
No, I gotta flip it again so that I can write it with the x in the front. So x is less than negative 15 is the final answer. All right, how do you want to start this? Distribute. So 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 8 is minus 24. Good. We got a greater than or equal to 4x and a plus 16.
So what are we doing?
All right, I'm going to move the little guy. So I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. 3x minus 3x. Those are gone on the right. 4x minus 3x is 1x.
Right?
I did.
Okay?
Kiddo.
Questions? All right, what next?
Subtract the 16.
Subtract the 16. They're both negative, so add them, keep the negative sign. Negative 40 is greater than or equal to x. So my final answer is x is less than or equal to negative 40.
Good job,
So
guys.
it's good because I did.
Yeah, she never want X in the back. If X in the back.
If you end up with the same answer, yeah, you just might have flipped it one extra time or one less time than us, but yeah, should be good. All right, questions on 10.
This one was the easiest one so far.
Questions on, I don't know why I said questions on 11. We haven't even started 11. Write down number 11. All right, so I'm going to distribute the negative 6 and then a positive 7. So up here I should get negative 6 minus 42x. Uh-oh. Here I get 7 and a plus 42x. So, yeah, the x's are all going to go away, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Okay, now, very similar to equations.
Wait, what?
You need to ask yourself, okay, and we did the negative 6 plus the 7, we got a 1.
So like, how do
You need to ask yourself if what you're looking at is a true statement or a false statement. Is 1 less than or equal to negative 2?
No.
It is not. So that means we have no solution.
So put false.
If the answer is no solution. If you would get something like 5 is greater than 4, then it would be all real numbers. Okay, so just like equations, ask yourself if what you're looking at is true or not true. If it's true, it's all real numbers. If it's not true, it's no solution. Questions?
Questions?
Anyone? Anyone? All right, number 17. What is wrong with me today? Number 12.
Maybe you looking at it and it didn't.
12.
Oh, I saw the 7 and then I just started saying 17. I don't know. All right. X is on both sides.
You should subtract that 2x.
Yeah, let's subtract the 2x.
I was gonna say add.
I'm nervous that the pre-programmed answer is not going to be how I want to do it, so I'm just going to go off the rails here for a second. All right. Thank you. What do I do next? Divide both sides by -9, and in your head you are hearing woo, 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 right? Flip it. We get 13 over -9 or -13/9. Either way is
You
fine.
should see what they did. Just to see what they did.
I will in just a second. So, here's the deal on this one. That was a good idea. If you want to multiply by the LCD and get rid of the fractions, we can before we distribute. Or you can distribute the fractions and deal with them. What do you want to do?
Deal with it.
Distribute the fractions and, okay, I've heard a few people say just distribute the fraction and deal with it. So I am going to multiply. If you don't want to do it this way, don't. We've done 13 examples. You should be able to handle one on your own. So if you want to multiply through by the LCD and then just check your work with us, that is fine. When you distribute a half, you get 3 halves x plus 7 halves less than, back here we get 10/3 x minus 4/3. Okay, let's get the x's together. So I will subtract 3 halves x.
Denominator is 6.
I'm going to do some work off to the side. Common denominator here would be 6. So that would be 20 over 6, I'm sorry. Right? You multiply top and bottom by 2. Minus 9 over 6.
Yes.
Right.
11.
Okay, so that would be 11 over 6x, and I still have the minus 4/3. Now, I need to add the 4/3, and I'm going to have to do the same thing, a little work off to the side. So this would be 21/6
Yup.
plus
12.
Plus 8.
Oh, wait,
8/6.
But you can do
Right.
So that would be 29/6 less than 11/6 x. Then what?
Times the divide.
Multiply by the reciprocal. So the 6's will go away. Right now I have 29/11 less than x. All right, and whenever I rewrite it, the big mouth was eating the x. The big mouth still needs to be eating the x, but I need the x to be in the front. 29 and 11 don't have any common factors, so we cannot reduce. A lot of you are still not reducing. Those are easy points. I did a lot of -1s with the circle around it on Friday. Yes. All right, final example, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Are we ready?
You should do it by
My gut hurt.
All right. In the front, what do I do?
Distribute.
Distribute the 3. So 3x minus 24 less than what?
8. No. What? 7. No.
Just one step at a time.
5.
5x minus 5
plus 20.
plus 20 minus 2x. Good. All right, I got some like terms on the right. What's 5x minus 2x?
3x.
Uh-oh.
Fun.
All right, and then don't forget that negative sticks with the 5, so it's like negative 5 plus 20, which is like 20 minus 5, so we get 15. What happens when you go to get your x's
They're
together?
gonna be 0.
You are getting no x's. So now you're asking yourself, is this true or not true?
That's true.
That is true. Negative 24 is less than 15. So this is all numbers on the number line.
I'm glad we have 0 X's because I'm like,
If you write all real numbers, that's fine. Real numbers appear on the number line, so you're good.
what's imaginary?
Imaginary numbers is when you take the square root of negative 1. There you go. They're not on the number line. Okay.
I just heard about
Are we good on this one?
Put ARN instead.
Yeah. All right, what did we learn about today?
We learned about solving something, whatever these things are called.
Today,
Oh yeah, we supposed to
we learned to solve inequalities. We learned about inequalities yesterday. So the key word here is solve. We learned to solve inequalities. All right, homework is coming. Graded tests are coming.